To be or not to be? What an easy question. Just live, idiot. Stop dying. So we are ready to go into the trial. And this is maybe the weirdest beginning to a trial ever, because they arrested him for murder. Soseki-san. Arrested for murder. And while he was in jail and while they were questioning him about the murder victim stood up. Was like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I don't think he even, like, said to the police, like, yes, I drank tea and was poisoned. Therefore, he, charge him with poisoning. Like, they're still taking him to court, despite the fact that it's not clear whether a crime was committed. It may be, hey, Serp. It may be that the guy, at some point in the intervening 9 or 10 hours, because that's how long you have before the murder case has to start. Or not murder, but trial in general. The trial must begin scant hours after the crime has been committed. So I don't know if he has even spoken to police and said, like, yes, I was poisoned, or what. No dilly-dallying. Straight to the trial. Oh, so this morning, I had set my alarm and went up and tried to, I had some big fish in 14 to catch, and I actually caught 2 of the rarest big fish, or not like rarest, but like the ones with the least frequent windows, where they're like less than 0.1% of the time are they available to catch. The one in Long Mirror Lake, Eliad Scad, or whatever, it has a window that's literally, it's the only fish where they're like, the window is 11:30 p.m. to midnight, which in game time is like 90 seconds. And it's only when the weather has been, clear skies for 2 weather periods in a row, then it's like, yes, in that case, you have 90 seconds to catch this fish just before the stroke of midnight. I got that one, and I also got the Cinder Surprise, where you have to, it's, again, a very small window, a 2-hour window, which is 6 minutes of real time. Only between midnight and 2 a.m., right as heat waves turn into heat wave weather into dust storm, and you have to catch 10 sand eggs. Like, you catch the 10th sand egg inside of that window in order to get the intuition buff that lets you catch. It's ludicrous what they expect you to do, and I wasn't even going to, like, go for the final there's a separate achievement for the Shadowbringer's Big Fish, and I have the second to last achievement. I was like, I'm not going to go for the last one. It's too much trouble. But now that I have those 2 fish, it's like, I guess I am going to go for it. It's just such a stupid thing to waste time doing. And hello, Faded. It's good to see you. Talking about fish. And now we're talking about laws. The Old Bailey. This place always makes me feel strange. I seem to get chills down my spine and break out into a nervous sweat all at the same time. Go see a doctor. Well, I didn't think I'd be back here so soon. That's my line. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Natsume. It was only 2 days ago that I was declared not guilty here. Yes, we somehow managed to prove he didn't stab Miss Green in the back. But now this! Another morning, another murder, and here I am again, in this hellhole. It can't be another murder if it's not a murder. Also, the previous one, also not a murder. Can't keep coming to court! I'm beginning to think he's right. It really does seem as though he's cursed. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid I have bad news. Oh. Mr. Natsume, good morning. Yes, morning. So, here we are again. Tee-hee. Yes, again. Dots and dots. Judicial Assistant Miss Mikotoba Esquires, what's the bad news? Oh dear, you heard, did you? If you come in shouting at the top of your voice, people can't help hearing what you say. Oh, I am sorry. You've done nothing wrong, Mr. Sato? No. What is it? I have bad news. I found further proof that he's guilty. No, the bad news, of course, is that the Reaper is trying the case again. Clearly. Well, it seems that the prosecution in today's trial will be led by Lord Barak von Zieks. Von Zieks? Garg! Oh no. Oh no, no. The so-called Reaper of the Bailey, the most legendary prosecutor in the land. In the trial 2 days ago, he pursued Soseki-san and I relentlessly. Of course, by the skin of our teeth, we managed to pull through, but still. Perhaps Mr. Natsume's acquittal in the last trial wasn't the end of the matter. After all, yes. I know what you're thinking. The legend of the Reaper that says, nothing can save a person in the dock when Lord Van Zieks is the prosecutor. Oh no! The victim... the victim is not dead. This is the second time in a row that we are trying someone for murder, or trying someone as if it was for murder, when in fact the person is not dead. In the previous case, they were in a coma in the hospital for 4 days, the entire length of the trial. And in this one, we came in, and they're like, oh man, this guy's dead. Like, well, arrest him. And we start looking for clues and stuff, and then the guy stood up. We're like, oh, you're actually fine. Still putting him on trial anyway. On trial for attempted murder, I guess, because they think that he was poisoned, but we haven't even heard the victim himself say anything. He hasn't been like, oh yeah, I was poisoned. He didn't even say, like, he could have been sleeping. Okay, you were here for him, yeah, waking up and acting. Yeah, that's all the information we got. And then they just went, oh, well, you better go see your guy so that you can defend him for attempted murder. That even if a person is found not guilty, the accused will meet a mysterious end one way or another. And we've experienced it firsthand. Flashback to Gazebo. A man we successfully defended met the most terrifying end after his acquittal, right here in the Old Bailey. Did we establish that he lived? I feel like he lived. Ah, do I have to put up with those ice-cold eyes boring into my soul again? Cursed by evil spirits, and now by the Reaper. Pair of petrifying perils, potentially. Well, if it's potentially, at least you appear to have hope, Mr. Natsume. Good evening, blind. And yes, he did quote Shakespeare, and so did I. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Ah, yes? I'm innocent. You have to believe me. You, more than anyone now. Don't worry. I'll be your steadfast ally every step of the way in this battle, I promise. And this promises to be a hard battle, I fear. Evil rich guy, yeah. Did we get some kind of hint that he was still alive? Or was it just when they were like, oh, the body was burned beyond recognition? It's like, okay, so he's alive. Well, the trial is scheduled to begin shortly. We should move into the courtroom. Let's go. Wahoo! Oh yes, I forgot to say. I'm afraid he won't be able to make it. Mr. Sholmes, I mean. That's probably for the best. Oh! If he were here, I might be tempted to rely on his help. And that could be seen as a weakness. If Lord Van Zieks were to notice, he'd prey on it mercilessly. At least, that's my gut feeling. Mr. Naruhodo. You're right. Yes, you're so right. Oh, well said, locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Well said. I swear, on this sword by my side, and on the spirit of Kazuma that it harbors. Wait, the sword traps the souls of its victims? Like in Suicide Squad? I'll show him what a Japanese lawyer can do. I'll set you free, with honor, with a U. That's what a British lawyer would do. American lawyers would do it without the U. Yes. It might also have a new cat door that we don't know about. That's how he got out of the omnibus. Almost all the same jurors. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. Readiness for the trial, my learned Nipponese friend, is not what the defense needs. What you need is readiness for your inevitable defeat. Strong words for someone who's 0-4 by my count, and I didn't even count. It's not just in my imagination, it's really there. Lord Van Zieks has such an animosity towards us Japanese for some reason. It was some time ago now that he first became known as the Reaper of the Bailey, I believe. These past few years, he hasn't appeared in court at all. Yet now he's back in the courtroom, though for some reason, only when I'm defending. This Reaper, with his curious disdain for us Japanese and wine glasses, is a prosecutor shrouded in mystery. Still, this isn't the time to be pondering that. I have to concentrate on the trial. Furthermore, I now call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to fulfill your duty? Absolutely. I had a feeling this larrikin wasn't innocent before. I must say, I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat refuses to sit right. Ah, well, that's what makes a good juror good. Guilt or innocence based on own hat orientation. Oh, well, I rather like how you're wearing your hat. I think the ruthless look is very fetching, actually. I need to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. I have a very important meeting. Let's make this quick. I couldn't agree more. I need to take home 5 bob tonight, or Mrs. will go through the roof. Is that like a 500 pence? I bet it's 500 pence. Oh, may the Lord show us all the light here and lead his flock to a righteous verdict. The British jury system is so very different to our own, isn't it? You mean different than our own? Or are you yourself secretly British? She is. It's quite extraordinary to think that the power of judgment is in the hands of 6 members of the public. It would be cool if there was a game where localization had characters use words as they would spell them. Have I ever seen that in like a... No, I guess not, now that you mention it. And that the judge can only pass sentence when all jurors are in agreement about the defendant's guilt. 6 citizens of London, chosen at random and equipped with fireballs, or at least that's the idea. The prosecution would like to draw attention to the fact that the accused was on trial here, but 2 days ago. Accordingly, where possible, they say what? Accordingly? According to what? Accordingly, where possible, the same jurors have been asked to return for duty today. Very well, let us commence the trial. She was here for very many trials, yes. Lord Van Zieks, your opening statement, please. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is not the intent of the prosecution to cast doubt over your past decision. However, the innocent verdict afforded to this eccentric Nipponese before has had dire consequences. Did the accused repent for his wrongdoing in that affair? Far from it. Instead, he used his freedom to perpetrate a most blood-curdling crime. The old wine triangle. Namely, that of the attempted murder of his neighboring lodger, an innocent Englishman. To explain the circumstances of the crime, the prosecution calls its first witnesses to the stand. The detective responsible for investigating the scene, and the accused himself. Witnesses, your names and occupations, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. Soseki Natsume, from the Empire of Japan. My government ordered me to come here as a student to study your language and culture. Mr. Natsume. Yes, my lord, sir. It took me just a moment, and then I got it. I'm quite sure I'm not mistaken, that you swore an oath never to set foot in my courtroom again. I remember it as if it were yesterday. The day before, in fact, my lord, but close enough. Believe me, this is the last place I want to be. Inspector, let's hear from you first. Explain the case for the court. And for the player. Because I still don't understand what the charge is, to be honest. Right you are, sir. The incident occurred at the Garrett household where the defendant has lodgings. In the ground floor room of the victim, Mr. William Shamspeare. The defendant has already admitted to visiting the victim on the night in question. Mr. Shamspeare collapsed in his room as a result of poisoning by strychnine. Oh, did we actually find some poison? It was found the following morning when the landlord, suspecting something was wrong, broke down the door. This means, I presume, that the door to the victim's room was locked at the time of the incident? Correct, my lord. It was locked from the inside, making entry to or exit from the room impossible. Arguably. Although the victim, Mr. Shamspeare, lives to tell the tale, he very nearly didn't. The man was halfway to heaven when we first found him. I was the first officer on the scene, my lord. I have a photographic print here that I took at the time to show how it looked. Alright, there's a puddle of something down there. Yes, a chilling scene indeed. The man looks very much deceased or sleeping. Or acting. Acting? That's right. Everyone present believed that's exactly what he was. Very well. I shall accept this photographic print as evidence for the court. Now then, Mr. Natsume. Yes. Yes! As the defendant, do you have anything to say at this juncture? No. Like, just don't say anything. They're haunted. Haunted by evil spirits. Good gracious! What's haunted? My lodgings! There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings. Carbon monoxide poisoning, we already know. A tenant before me died in mysterious circumstances. A woman was stabbed by no one on the street outside. My neighbor was poisoned. And me? What about me? I've nearly been killed countless times. Killed, Mr. Natsume? How? Even on that fateful night it happened, when I returned from Mr. Shamspeare's room. I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed. But before long, the stove went out. And somebody tried to kill me. You must always extinguish all fires before retiring for the night, Mr. Natsume. Otherwise, you have to pay the fire tax. but it's so cold. My runny nose would freeze. The point is, I didn't poison my neighbor. Oh, why am I being accused of this? Why is my existence so cursed? Thank you, witnesses. I believe I have a reasonably clear picture of events. If I could raise one more point, my lord. One more conclusive point. Conclusive? Go on. Fortunately, the victim, Mr. Shamspear, has regained consciousness after his ordeal, and he has named the true culprit. The poison consumed by the victim was administered in a cup of tea that he drank on the night in question. Tea, my lord, that was brought to the victim's room by the accused. The accused? Good grief! Order! Order! Yes, that's the crux of this whole case. If Soseki-san is innocent, then why? Why has the victim accused him? Well, Mr. Natsume, what have you to say to this accusation? That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shamspear's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. And this is the result. Never will I touch tea again. Never! The public pump was frozen, you say? That's not information we've heard before. That will do. Thank you. How does he know the poison wasn't in the soap he ate? Arguably, he didn't eat any soap. It was just broken in half. Now, according to our laws, the defense must have the opportunity to cross-examine witnesses at least once. Therefore, I call upon these witnesses now for a formal testimony. I presume the prosecution has no objection? None whatsoever, my lord. Good. Then you will give your account of events on the night in question to the court now. Yes, my lord. Okay. The catastrophic night. It was around 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor and took some tea with me as a gift. We had a heated literary debate over a nice hot drink, after which I went back to my room at around 11. Arg! My tea was completely harmless. He couldn't have locked the door behind me otherwise, could he? Strychnine takes some time to have an effect on the body. People don't keel over immediately after taking it. The victim would have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guest left. The argument still stands. Well, that's pretty conclusive. Although it also means that he could have been poisoned before Natsume even showed up. Yes, I see. It all seems relatively straightforward. Excuse me, but that testimony does raise one rather crucial point, I think. Mr. Natsume claims his tea to have been harmless. Presumably, though, the teacups have been examined for traces of the poison, haven't they? Why didn't I think of that? Well, as it happens, no. We haven't been able to. Did I hear you correctly, Inspector? Scotland Yard has failed to examine the suspect's substance? How could you have overlooked something so important that I just overlooked? Oh, give me a moment. I'm getting a phone call. I am back. My learned Nipponese friend is falsely incensed. The inspector said Scotland Yard was unable to examine the tea, not that it was overlooked. Unable? Why? It's simple enough. There was none left. Not a drop. Someone must have been very thirsty indeed. With current scientific techniques, it's not possible to test for poison under such circumstances. We only need a drop, but that one drop does actually have to exist, funnily enough. The lack of examination notwithstanding, it appears nothing other than the tea passed the victim's lips on the night in question. So there's no evidence of poisoning at all, right? Other than, like, his word of what his symptoms are, and then they say, oh, that's the symptom of strychnine poisoning because you passed out for several hours. I see. Thank you. The matter is clear. The matter is not clear. Cast your eyes over the jury, my learned friend. What? You can see it in their faces, I'm sure. The recognition of the accused's guilt. Your client's fate is all but sealed. In mere moments from now, you will lose, and your compatriot will be damned for all eternity. He's right. I can feel all 12 of the jurors' eyes looking daggers at me. But I can't let them beat me down. I won't. Counsel for the defense, proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. No, it was my mom. She was letting me know that one of my cousins is going to be in the area tomorrow, and is going to be having dinner at her house. So, let's see. What?
Hold it!
Press on this. Yes, there was not a drop of tea left in the victim's room anywhere, was there? That's correct. Anyone would think the fellow had never had a pot of tea before. He must have licked it dry. Which is a pity, because one drop is all we would have needed to analyze it for poison. And you say that you returned home to your room at 11 o'clock, Mr. Natsume? Yes, definitely. By heaven and earth, I swear it. The landlord was able to verify that, as it happens. He confirmed that the defendant went back to his room at 11 that night. And how was the landlord able to attest to this? He, said it was the lamps, I believe. The lamps, Inspector? When tenants return to the rooms and start using gas, the lamps in the other parts of the house flicker. Yes, Mr. Garrideb seems to pay a lot of attention to the comings and goings of his tenants. There's only one key to Mr. Shamspeare's room, I know that for certain. So he must have locked the door himself, from inside his room. The victim has confirmed that to be the case, yes. So I'm right! My tea was harmless, completely harmless. If you take poison, you die. Everyone knows that. It's not that simple, I'm afraid. What do you mean?
Hold it!
He's being gaslighted in the originals. It was only a day or two ago that I randomly found out what the origin of the term is. I knew it was the name of a movie, but in the movie, the guy is trying to convince the woman, it might be his wife, I forget, that she is going crazy, and he does it by changing the strength of the gas lights in their house and telling her that no, it doesn't look different than it was before. And apparently she goes crazy from this. How long does it take for symptoms to appear then? According to the coroner I was speaking to at the yard, about 30 minutes after the poison's consumed. Then the victim suffers violent convulsions, cramping, and stiffness, and eventually dies from asphyxiation. So there's a 30-minute interval between when the poison is ingested and the onset of symptoms. There seems to be a lot of different types of poison in the world, that's for sure, along with a lot of different amounts of poison that one could ingest, along with a lot of different weights and heights and body mass indexes and all sorts of things that would affect that number very greatly. Sounds like an irresponsible coroner to just slap a 30-minute label on there. Oh dear, death by poisoning again. It's always so awful. 30 minutes! Let us count them! It's a long time. Sneak out. Oh, okay. Someone turning on the lights will be noticed in nearby buildings. Oh, huh. Okay. I guess I didn't see that much of it. It was basically someone trying to sum up the movie in one sentence. So I may have gotten the wrong impression. Certainly long enough for the victim to have locked the door behind the accused after he left. You can't deny that. And it further degrades Soseki-san's alibi. I have the medical report from the doctor who examined the victim here, my lord. It spells it out, really. The accused is the only person who could have done it. Very well, the court will add this report to the court record as evidence. Couldn't there have been strychnine already in his cup? Right? Presumably it wasn't in the tea. Or else they both would have gotten sick and or died. Why couldn't there have been strychnine in his teacup all day long? Mayhap a week. Mentions the point. Okay, I should read this. Oh yes, I see it here. Delayed onset of symptoms. Oops. Great. Actually, I haven't looked at any of our stuff. Well, that I don't care about. Your books. Those are the three books. Why would those matter this time? We already know. Like, we already... How is that gonna come into play? We're already past the point of him saying, like, no, I was never there. I was never in the apartment. We're like, no, your books are in there. Is it because of this? Is it because we know he bought the books at 4:45 p.m. on the 17th? And this happened on the 19th, maybe? This is the street map from the other trial. Why do we have that? Oops. What if I look over there? Now it looks suspicious. Whoever opened this envelope didn't bother with a letter opener or scissors, did they? Yes, whoever opened it was clearly someone with an unrefined temperament. And judging from the angle of the rip here, the person in question must have been right-handed. Miss Susato! I think perhaps someone's been reading too much of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. You can never read too much of it, Mr. Naruhodo. Never! If you say so. We'll freaking look at it somewhere else. Oh. And then he said, oh. What is it, Mr. Naruhodo? This bar of soap, when we first found it, I could have sworn there was some sort of round disc in this depression. Just here, a reddish one. Yes, you're right, I remember it too. But now the depression is completely empty. Where could the disc have gone? You do too have a temperament. This is the teacup from which Mr. Natsume was drinking. Yes, unlike the other one, the inside of the cup is completely clean. I suppose he must have drunk the contents before the tea had a chance to leave a mark. I always gulp it down too. Sorry, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, if you just sip it little by little, it goes cold. Clearly, I shall have to instruct you in the proper way to take tea. Can I also look in that one? I can. This must be the cup that Mr. Shamspeare was drinking from, then. It's stained on the inside. Tea does that, I'm afraid, even green tea. Oh, really? Never noticed before. You've never noticed? Well, I never leave it in the cup long enough to leave a mark. I like to gulp it down. Drink tea while it's hot. That's the Japanese way, isn't it? Oh dear. So many people seem to have the wrong idea about our culture, and most of them are Japanese. And so the purple one is the one with the ring. So then presumably the poison would be in the purple one. Holding the fork, bar of soap, puddle on the ground is going to matter somehow. Victim, William Shamspeare, 31. Cause of coma, ingestion of a small quantity of strychnine. Toxic effects present 30 minutes after ingestion. High likelihood of the substance having been mixed with the tea the victim was drinking, but no sample could be obtained for testing. Investigative conclusions. The poisoning incident happened around 1:30 a.m. Oh, wait, what? Assessed from the victim's pocket watch that appears to have broken when the man collapsed after the delayed onset of symptoms. No container for the poison was found at the scene. Why couldn't he have passed out and then 2 hours later he slumped slightly and the watch fell out of his pocket? This is silly. Alright, so this now contradicts what he said about... I went back to my room at around 11. So I think we're going to present this and say that's...
Objection!
Yeah, I was right. Lurk, see you, Serp. Mr. Natsume, you say it was 11 p.m. when you left to return to your room, correct?
Yes!
And Inspector Gregson, can we rely on the information in the medical report unconditionally?
Of course we can.
There's no problem with that report, Sunshine. Actually, I think there's a very big problem, because there's a chronological inconsistency between it and the defendant's testimony. A chrono what? What do you want about? Time travel, that's what. Uh-oh, did I lost connection to chat momentarily. I have no dropped frames. My internet is fine. Oh well. According to this report, the victim must have consumed the poison at around 1:30 in the morning, and yet... the defendant, Mr. Natsume, left the victim's room at 11. Ah! Yes, that's right. There's more than 2 hours of missing time there. Oomph! In other words, if there was poison in the tea that Mr. Natsume brought to the victim's room, how could the victim have fallen ill to it 2.5 full hours? No. No, don't say that they're full hours if you only have half of one of them. Ooh-ah! And fish and chips went flying everywhere.
The defense's argument is entirely reasonable. How do you respond, Lord Van Zieks?
That's how he responds.
Pray, forgive the discourtesy if my mind has wandered. I was considering what cuisine would best complement the contents of my hallowed chalice this luncheon.
I know what would complement it. Candles.
How could it have happened, you ask?
Oh, I was wrong. Not candles. Glove.
I do hate to shatter illusions, but my Nipponese friend appears to be chasing a phantom idea.
A phantom? A ghost?
Is it so hard to imagine that the victim drank his tea after the accused had left? For example, at the time stated in the medical report, yes, at around 1:30.
Objection! Mr. Natsume brought the tea with him to drink together with his neighbor, and in Japan there's a well-known saying, drink tea while it's hot.
And in my country, there is an even more apt saying. Peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold. Peas porridge in the pot. 9 days old. I don't know how that's relevant. There is nothing more refreshing than cold tea.
Tea is a dish best served cold. That's an old English Klingon proverb. The point is, if there was such a long gap, there may be other ways to explain how the victim came to be poisoned. Other possibilities. What sort of possibilities, Counsel? Somebody else could have came over and poisoned him. Obviously. Well, for example, the man could have had another visitor.
Another visitor? That's a very bold assertion, my learned friend, from someone who has nothing to substantiate it.
Or the victim could have taken the poison of his own volition. You suggest this may have been a suicide, Counsel?
Objection!
2 visitors in one night? Preposterous.
Mr. Shamspeare has categorically denied suicide. The idea can and must be discounted. No counting.
But he could be lying. He's not on the stand. So it's not perjury. It's arguably even worse than perjury. You lie in court, that's like life in jail. You lie outside of court, whew. Whew, you're gonna get the crossed arms for that.
Is something wrong, Lord Van Zieks? I was listening to the sound of the carriage pulling up outside the courtroom. Pray, forgive the discourtesy.
Carriage? What carriage?
It would seem that the key player in this case has just arrived.
Look behind him. Out! Out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Who, sir, are you?
William Shamspeare, my lord. Alas! 'Twas I undone by these bitter events. I am the victim. What's he doing here? I guess, yeah.
The prosecution seeks to call this gentleman to the stand.
It could be the only one he knows. We haven't seen any others. Hopefully he knows the to be or not to be speech. That's also very good.
With his testimony, my learned friend's futile resistance will be utterly crushed.
Wait, was it? I don't remember that. Was there a Hamlet? I mean, if there was, did I also show off that I knew the entire, well, not the entire soliloquy, but at least up to that part about signifying nothing. I'll go back and look at some point. Oh, no, Apollo just whipped it out randomly? Okay. You're calling him as a witness? Very well, counsel. I grant your request with interest. I thought you were lurking. I'm curious to discover what the court shall hear from the victim himself. Happy am I, Shamspeare, to regale thee with my tale of woe, my lord. Hold on, is that iambic pentameter? Is it? No. It's immediately not. But I still have my own tale to tell, my own tale of worse woe. I can regale the court with the tale of my perfect innocence, in perfect English. That will do, Mr. Natsume. At the court, now hear from the victim. Alright, so that's Mr. Shamspear. Who's that other man beside him? Yes, I feel sure we've caught a glimpse of that man before.
State your names and occupations for the court, please, witnesses.
A writer of words so sweet they do scent the breeze. Wait, is this iambic pentameter? So sweet they do. No. Inventor of idea so. Nope. Nope, it's not. He tried. He tried and failed. A writer of words so sweet they do scent the breeze, an inventor of ideas so profound they compose the earth. The unrivaled poet, the unmatched scribe, William Shakespeare, were the great bard to be recalled to life anew. Lo, what a magnificent man! Good fellows, I am he who ponders such a miracle, William Shamspeare. The name's Meterman. Adrian B. Meterman? Adrian B? Adrone B? Meterman. I work for the Altamont Gas Company, East End branch office. Ah, I remember now. It was yesterday on Briar Road. Oh yes, she's right, it's him. But when we saw him then, they said he looked familiar, and I don't think we saw him last game. Oh, what's this? What's that man doing over there? He looks like he's trying to see into Soseki-san's lodgings. Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? Excuse me, could we have a word? Ah! Faded into the bushes. For like 5 seconds? Unbelievable. No, you're right. Wait, did we? No, I forgot. If we did, I forgot. Yes, we spotted him outside Mr. Garrett's house that morning, and he's a gas company employee. What does he have to do with this case? So, Mr. William Shamspear, you are the victim in this miserable affair, correct? Oh heaven, oh hell, do you command me to remember? That sweet poison that did cross me and cross mine innocent lips.
I subpoenaed him for the trial, with his doctor's permission, naturally. Hearing the testimony of the aggrieved will remove any doubt, any room for doubt in the jurors' minds, I'm sure.
Behold, you have only to rearrange the letters of my name to see that me's a seraph, an angel indeed. Checks out. Checks out. We might lose this one. The anagram checks out. Thus be I noble of mind, sweet of nature, and verily honest of heart, as all heavenly angels be. Because there isn't a less contrived meaning in your name. No, not at all. The jurors seem to be very moved by this man, I'm afraid. They're actually taking this serif anagram idea seriously. Anagrams are serious business. Thank you, witnesses, for your illuminating introductions. But, my lord, what's the man next to Mr. Shamspear doing here? The gas man, I mean.
What? Me? Well now, allow me to enlighten my learned friend. You recall, I presume, your earlier impertinence, when you suggested that the victim had another visitor to his room on the night in question, and moreover, that the victim is a compulsive liar.
What? No, I didn't quite say that.
This young chin-stroker is here to controvert your wild claims conclusively. Is that not so, Mr. Meterman?
Hang on, no. I'm just here. I hereby call for your formal testimonies. You will tell the court as lucidly as possible what happened on the night in question. Is he going to be like, no, I only walked into court because I need to read the meter. I know nothing about what's going on here. One may smile and be a villain. Yes, it doth pain me, but let the truth be spoken. The truth of that wintry night of my discontent.